Hello everyone and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we're taking a look at Studio Series number 58 Deluxe Class Roadbuster from Transformers Dark of the Moon. This was one of the three wreckers. This is the first that we've seen so far. Pretty cool artwork here on the side. Deluxe Class number 58. I love the light blue. I'm glad they stuck with that this whole time. Very nice color for the Studio Series. I appreciate it. Cool picture of him here on the side. On the back, of course, you see the robot mode, the vehicle mode, which is kind of a tricked out NASCAR. You can see on the side it has the official GM license, and then it also has a NASCAR sticker here as well for what they had to license to use this mold. But pretty cool. I always thought the wreckers were interesting. Like, it was weird to take a bunch of NASCARs and trick them out with machine guns and whatnot, but I appreciated that they were doing something new and interesting. I mean, Dark of the Moon was kind of a mess all the way around, but it had some interesting things, I'll say. Maybe. In any case, let's go ahead. Let's get Roadbuster out of the packaging, and we'll take a closer look. Real quick, I just wanted to show off the little backdrop that it comes with. All these Studio Series figures have a little backdrop. So it's just kind of a generic city battle scene from the third movie when they're fighting in the city. You can see a bunch of smashed up cars and various things. He does kind of fit right in there. He's got kind of a turtle shell. We'll get into that more in a minute, but I just wanted to show him off in the backdrop that he comes with real quick before we dive into the figure. So, taking a close-up look at Roadbuster, I think he looks pretty good. They did a nice job with the detail. I like the green with the silver, a little bit of white, and of course the black. All the colors go really well together in my opinion. He definitely does have a lot of car kibble on his back, and it does kind of look like a little turtle shell. I don't know, maybe it's because he's green. I don't seem to mind it all that much. It kind of fits. It does hang down a little bit lower than I'd like. If it was maybe just like to here, I wouldn't mind it as much. And again, it's not a huge problem. It doesn't ridiculously hinder the articulation, but it's just a little off-putting to just have that giant hunk of kibble there on the back. As far as articulation goes, well, first let's take a look at the head sculpt. We'll get a little bit close. I kind of like the head sculpt. It kind of looks like a bug to me, though. I'm going to be honest. The eyes kind of look insectoid-ish, if that's a word. I don't know. They have an insectoid quality to them. And this almost looks like little mandibles. I don't know. Maybe I'm just off base, but that's what it looked like to me at first. But it's a cool head sculpt nonetheless. You do have a ball joint there in the neck, so you can move up and down a little bit side to side. For the shoulder, there's kind of two joints. There's the shoulder joint in the torso and then the shoulder joint in the arm. So in the torso, you have a little bit of up and down. I'm guessing that's mostly for the transformation. Then you have a ball joint there in the arm. You have a bicep swivel. You kind of have two elbow joints. This one seems to move backwards mostly. And then you have the normal elbow joint. And then the hands are going to fold into the forearm, so nothing in the wrist there. Nothing really in the waist, but in the hip, you have a ball joint, thigh swivel, pretty much 90 degrees in the knee there, and then no ankle tilt. Yeah, I would say the ankles are pretty static in robot mode, but not bad. Like I said, the turtle shell doesn't really hinder the articulation that much. You can see how it kind of comes back, but you need to push it back in. The other thing that's kind of neat, you can see here on the wheels, it says Wreckers and Ultra Wreckers apparently. It also has NASCAR symbol here on the side, a couple places. These like little gun pods. So, not bad. Like I said, pretty nice detailing all the way around. Paint applications are nice. He does come with this super tiny little Gatling gun, which, whoops, if you want, you can have him hold in his hand. You can peg it here onto the forearm. Come on. I swear it does peg in here. There we go. It's kind of loose, though. It doesn't really go in all that deep. And then you even have these two little peg holes on the side of the head. So if you really wanted, you could drop it in there. Give him a little shoulder cannon. So it's kind of neat that you have a few options. I think it's mostly going to be utilized in vehicle mode. But we'll get there in a minute. But yeah, overall, robot mode, not too bad. He does have decent heels, which I appreciate. So, all in all, articulation's pretty good. Paint application's pretty good. All in all, not a bad robot mode. Alright, so getting to the transformation here, he's definitely kind of a shell former. You'll see how it goes in a bit, but this is going to kind of open up and swallow them up. But starting off here, the first thing I'm going to do is fold the hands into the forearms. Just get that out of the way, nice and easy. Come down here to the bottom, and I actually forgot I had this mistransformed. So in robot mode, the two wheels are up here, almost at the knees. You're going to bring them around 180 degrees so that they're farther down like this. You can spin them in either direction, forward or back, it doesn't matter. Then you're going to fold up the feet like so, come around to the back, and you'll probably just naturally do it, but if these are still sticking up, you just push these down, and then you peg this all together. And this is the entire front of the car. Now at this point, these are probably going to be misaligned. You just want to bring them down until you can see that the piece on the side is matched up with this piece over here. So just bring them down until that's all flush. And then there you go. You have pretty much the whole front of the car. So coming around to the torso, you're going to lift this back, and then this kind of rocks up, but you're going to kind of pull this out. And I know it sounds weird, and it's really kind of impossible to do. The directions make it look like you can just pull this out. How it works is there's a hinge inside here, and you need to like flip it out. So basically what I find is a little bit easier if you kind of rock this up. You're going to want to flip this backpack piece out like so. Then you can kind of flip these little side panels down. And it's a little difficult to do because they kind of peg in snugly, surprisingly. Plus there's just a lot of clearance issues. But there we go. Now that those are on pegs, you can kind of pull it down. See how what it is it's just, let me see if I can get something out of the way here so you can actually see it. It's really hard to do. You can also at this point bring the legs forward if you want. They may unpeg. Just peg them back together. So you're probably not going to be able to see this super well. But inside here, it's like two joints. There you go, you can see it. So it's like that. So that's what you're trying to do. When I say pull it forward, you're taking it from this down to that. So it just spaces it out a little bit. At this point, you want to kind of pull these to the side and put this down as far as possible. You're going to take the arms here. Let me get a little bit closer. You can see that there is a tab here, and there's a tab slot right there on the back. So you're going to bend this back. And then you're going to make sure that they line up, which is very hard to see, but you can see it in there. So that lines up in there. Do the same with the other hand. Line that up. And then you have to kind of open this up, these little flaps like that, these little black flaps here. And you're going to try and rotate this back behind his torso like that. And it's a little more difficult than you would think, but once you line it up and you do it a couple times, it's not that big a deal. And then you have that lined up behind the torso like that. Next, you're going to take this piece that we flipped out before and bring it up over the head. You can see that there is a tab spot right there, and that is where this tab and that tab are going to go. So bring this up and over, and then tabbing these in is kind of more difficult than you would expect, surprisingly. And it's really just because you can't get a great hold. But once you can get these pegged in, there we go. Get this lined up. And even when you think it's lined up, it doesn't want to click in, and I don't know why. Come on now. It's just weird. I don't know. Like, once you get them tabbed in, they're nice and snug. But it never wants to seem to do it, and I don't know why. I feel like the first one goes in fairly easily, and then the second one's always a lot more difficult. There we go. Okay, so now that's tabbed in quite snugly, as you can tell. At this point, you're just going to bring this down, and there are tabs here and here, which will tab in to tiny little tab spots right there and there, as you can see. So you kind of just bring this down and then get that to tab in, which is easier said than done. There's a lot of weird tabs that you have to line up on this guy. It's kind of the name of the game for this guy. I want to make sure I have this correct. Yeah, that should all be right. Okay, so I just need to... Alright. I'm sure I'm not even close on these tabs. But it should be... There it goes. When it tabs in, it's nice and solid, and it stays tabbed in pretty well. So at this point, you're most of the way done. You're really just going to take this piece that hangs off the back and kind of bring it around, and you can see how there's like a little tab spot right there for this tab here. So just kind of bring that back and sit that on there. Very simple. Definitely the easiest tab to complete in the whole figure. And there you go. There is Roadbuster's vehicle mode. Now for the last little touch, you can see there's kind of a large spot right here. You're going to bring that tiny Gatling gun in from earlier. And you have to pop this in. And it's a little bit easier said than done. Come on now. I promise this fits in here. Everything is very, there we go, difficult at first. Then you can push it back in so it's a little bit more integrated into the vehicle mode. But there you go. There is your crazy souped up NASCAR. Has the NASCAR symbol, has Ultra Wreckers on the wheels. Has the Impala symbol here on the front. Or at least it says Impala on the front. But yeah, overall, nifty little NASCAR. So I think the detailing on it's pretty good. You have the numbers painted on the roof, on the side here, even though they're obscured by the, I don't know, barbed wire or whatever they got going on here. It rolls pretty well, which I gotta say is nice. I like the little gun on the front. I'm assuming these are guns or maybe even just spikes or something. I'm not quite sure what's going on in the front here. There might just be like a bayonet on a gun kind of a situation going on here. But you have a souped up engine here in the back. But yeah, overall, I like it. I think it works. I definitely like the color scheme. I think that looks really great. Underneath, you can kind of see the robot head. Otherwise, not too much robot kibble under there, which is nice. So yeah, it's a little difficult with the transformation, just getting everything lined up and pegged in. But once you do, everything snaps in pretty securely. And once he's all together, it's a pretty solid car mode. I don't really have any trouble with panels popping out or anything like that. Like once you get it to peg in, it stays fairly snug and it stays pegged in pretty well. So I do appreciate that. Yeah, overall, like I said, it's a pretty cool little NASCAR mode. I don't know, I like it. I'm not a huge NASCAR fan or anything, but I don't know, the design of this guy's kind of growing on me. So I think Roadbuster is pretty good. I'm trying to remember what the original toy was like from Dark of the Moon, because I know I had that, but that was over 10 years ago at this point. I'm kind of thinking that this guy in general is an improvement, but I really don't remember what that toy was like. I kind of remember his torso kind of like breaking apart or sliding open or something like that. So you don't have to worry about with this guy. He's got a nice molded chest. And I will say this guy's got great paint applications and he's got great articulation. The only place he really suffers is just the giant turtle shell on his back. It's not even so much a problem in the robot mode. Like, it's not great, but it's not terrible. I just think the transformation's not as fun as it could be because it's very finicky. You have to get a lot of things to line up. Now, when they peg in tight, and he holds together well in vehicle mode, which I do appreciate. But just getting everything to line up is kind of annoying, and the transformation is just not as fun as it could be. He's basically just a shell former where that back just kind of opens up and just swallows him around like a cape almost. And just getting everything to line up is just not the best. So this guy is kind of middle of the road for me. He's not terrible. He's not amazing. He's fine. And, you know, it's going to be up to you. If you want to save your money for something, you know, I think Earthrise is kind of killing it right now. So maybe you'd rather put your money over there instead of grabbing Studio Series figures. If you love Dark of the Moon and you're a huge Wreckers fan, then I say go for it. I don't think you'll be disappointed by him. I just think there are probably better figures out there. Also, just to mention Earthrise real quick, I've seen a lot of people say that these are really small. And I just want to do a quick side-by-side size comparison. Um, Pretty much the same size as Earthrise Wheeljack. Not much smaller. I mean, they feel smaller. Like, even though you can see these are like to his shoulder pads to his head, pretty much the same size, but for some reason the Studio Series figures just feel smaller. I don't know what it is. At first I thought they were just smaller, and it was maybe because of the licensing rights they have to pay to these car companies, and they're trying to recoup the loss somehow. But I think they're just making deluxe class figures in general smaller, so I feel like they're at the limit, though. You can't really go much smaller than this. I feel like this is about as small as you can make them. But yeah, again, just to recap here, at the end of the day, Roadbuster is perfectly fine. He does have some good things. He has some bad things, very middle of the road. So, you know, again, if you love the character or if you're just all in on the Studio Series, go ahead and grab them. But if you'd rather save your money for something else, I do think there are better Transformer figures out there. So that's going to do it for this one. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.